Hi everyone, this week we talked about the role of education in U.S. public schools, which I thought was a really interesting topic, something that is interesting to me because I love history, I love our country, but figuring out that role of education. So the three questions that I had, the first one was, how can I help my students appreciate the education they are given freely by the government? Which is an interesting question, but it was something that came to my mind. And I had a couple of interesting responses. The first one was expressing that to your students, helping them understand that, like, hey, do you really understand that this is free to you from the government? Because I feel like as a kid in school, I didn't understand that, and I wish I would have. I think I would have appreciated my education probably a little bit more. So expressing that to them so that they can process that and realize that. Second thing is, this was also a really interesting thing, was allowing an environment where education doesn't seem, or just school doesn't seem like a burden, but more of something that's like calming and relaxing. So doing things such as like physical activity, so having them stretch or listening to music, and that can increase positive attitudes and behaviors, which would allow kids to buckle down and learn and in a good, wholesome environment. So I thought those were two really awesome things to think about. My second question was, what role does history have or come into play in education that we have in public schools? Um, and my whole point of this question was, how much history do we express to our students about, whether it's education history or whether it's just history in general of our country. And something that I really liked that someone had said was helping students to understand maybe dark parts of our history so that they learn to not repeat it in the future, which I think is really cool, preparing students for their future. They are the future leaders, obviously, of this country. So anyway, that was only I only had one response to that I thought was meaningful and I felt was really applicable. The third question I have is, what topics are most important to teach in a classroom? Because obviously you have to cover bases and there's requirements to teach each subject. But something that came up actually almost every response that I received was talking about life skills, helping students understand and take seriously life skills, because that's what they're going to remember. And then the second thing was exposing them to all different topics so that they're not so closed-minded, that they're open to different topics and ideas and information. So anyway, those were my questions from this week and some great responses. Makes me really excited to be able to be an educator in this country.